fight this guy. Oh, you got injured in camp, you lose to that guy too. Now you're set back when you could have been a champion.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like weirdness going on with possibilities and, you know, just luck, bad luck, and good luck.
Bad luck and good luck. Timing, I think, is a big thing.
How is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just. I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
And then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a...
Joe Rogan delivers a sharp criticism of Jake Paul's upcoming fight with Gervonta Davis, condemning the massive size gap between the two. Rogan explains that weight classes exist for a reason, to protect fighters from serious harm, and that ignoring them undermines the integrity of boxing. According to him, Jake seems more focused on promoting the spectacle than respecting fairness in the sport. Rogan warns that Jake's much larger frame and power could cause real damage to Tank, making the matchup not only unsafe but also unnecessary.
But no time limit within the weight class.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be pretty. That would be pretty wild.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
Because
crazy.
you know, like two guys are facing off each other, like, and they know, like, there's no rescue every 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you go into it knowing you're either getting knocked down or submitted, or you're doing that to the other person.
Michael Bisping echoes similar concerns, calling Jake Paul's decision to face Gervonta Davis under such extreme weight differences deeply irresponsible. He notes that Jake is preparing to fight someone nearly 100 pounds lighter, which completely violates the natural balance boxing is built on. Bisping recalls that even the planned fight with 58-year-old Mike Tyson seemed questionable, and now, this matchup with Tank Davis only heightens the controversy. To him, it feels less like a sporting contest and more like Jake trying to gain attention and advantage. He stresses that boxing thrives on equal competition, but this fight tilts so heavily in Jake's favor that it looks more like a money play than a fair challenge, risking Tank's safety in the process.
One thing, that's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word, whoa, stop being such a bully, leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers, yeah.
Teddy Atlas reacts to the face-off between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis by highlighting how absurdly mismatched the two appear. He jokes that Tank is so small compared to Jake that he'd need a ladder just to touch his chin. Atlas acknowledges that differences in style and skill are part of boxing, but this size gap, he insists, crosses the line. Physically, Tank looks too undersized to even reach Jake effectively, making the entire matchup seem one-sided before the first punch is even thrown.
Right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but you know, a little different. The size difference was, I mean, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping, and it made me think. And I'm gonna ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm gonna ask him because I know he's an expert in this area. But it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, AKA Thunder Lips. It was Thunder Lips back there.
Joe Rogan adds that Jake Paul's choices are driven more by promotion than competition. He argues that these types of fights are designed to attract casual viewers and generate buzz through odd, headline-grabbing matchups. Rogan explains that Jake understands the media game perfectly, the betting hype, the spectacle, the constant controversy, all of it keeps his name trending. However, Rogan believes that beneath the entertainment value, these fights lack sporting merit and only blur the line between real boxing and viral promotion.
Problem. That makes it a problem. My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love everybody.
That had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching
it
is hard. Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia, so it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
Thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way.
Leonard Ellerby sheds light on Tank Davis's state of mind, revealing that he wasn't mentally prepared to fight Lamont Roach. According to Ellerby, Tank had been dealing with personal struggles and didn't want to take on more pressure during that period. His motivation was low, and his focus was on personal stability rather than proving himself inside the ring. Ellerby says skipping that fight was Tank's way of protecting his peace rather than avoiding a challenge.
Ellerby said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it, and he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach, and that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that if he tries to make a fight with Vasily Lomachenko, that fight doesn't go through. Then he tries to make a fight with Lamont Roach. He can't get the fight done for Houston with Lamont Roach because there was all kind of venue problems and drama going on around Gervonta getting a venue in Houston. So they wind up eventually moving the fight to New York City and pushing it back even further. So not only is it a fight where he didn't just jump out of from his last fight that he had and jump into a fight with Lamont Roach, he got held up. And then also during that period of time, he had to spend some time in jail for a parole violation after I believe that might have been after the Lamont Roach.
Reports now suggest that Gervonta Davis may retire after the Jake Paul fight. Insiders claim this move is motivated less by legacy and more by financial security. The payday is massive, and many believe Tank accepted the bout primarily for its guaranteed purse rather than sporting ambition. Analysts note that Tank has faced intense pressure and challenges outside the ring, which might have influenced his decision. Seen in this context, the Jake Paul fight appears to be a strategic business move, a way to cash out, secure his future, and step away from boxing on his own terms.
What you make? Like, let's go band for band on what you make. Again, there's nothing wrong with Tank going to get his money, but let's all be clear that that's all the fight is for Tank. He's telling you without telling you that he's fighting Jake just because he's getting $40 million. So when we talk about boxing being dead, Tank has to line up at the front of the line. I can't blame him, but don't go around, oh, boxing's dead and people switch sides and all of that. You chose not to be great. That's it. You chose not to be great. Stuff like that, choices like that will kill boxing. For sure. On a competitive level, it won't kill it on a business level. On a business level, until people run out of interest in these kind of matchups, it'll do well. On a competitive level, choosing not to fight the best will kill the sport. So maybe it's better if people like Tank aren't in the sport. And I don't even say that because I want that to be the case. I think Tank is ridiculously talented, but you can't want a fighter to fight more than what they want to. You can't. Tank fans or Tank people that like Tank and think he's one of the best, you can't want it for him. And then Shakur came back with, that's how I know you soft. I can't even go back and forth with you soft ass. You rather pop to me on social media than get in that fire and get embarrassed. I get it. Peace and blessings upon you, cuz. He says, the people got your chest out so bad. You talking like you a killer, forgetting that you the one that runs, bitch. I'll be bring the fight to you. This dude, a made-up character. Quote, blessings upon you. Clown-ass dude, wanna be Kevin Gates. Oh my goodness. I mean, here's the thing though. You can't say that stuff about Shakur if you're not willing to fight him. This is the point I think that we're going to come to today, is that Tank can say all this stuff he wants, but if you're not willing to fight Shakur, then none of it means anything anymore. Even if you believe that Tank is going to knock him out, even if you believe that Shakur's a runner, or that he's not in the trenches, or he's not a boxer that's willing to bring the fight, or whatever, none of it matters. You're talking from the sideline because you...
Daniel Cormier expresses disbelief at how this matchup was even sanctioned. He recalls watching the press conference where Tank seemed unsure of the fight's official weight class, something Cormier calls a red flag. In a sport built around weight divisions for safety and fairness, this level of confusion is deeply troubling. Cormier emphasizes that Jake Paul is simply too big for Tank Davis, and that the difference cannot be brushed aside. He questions how athletic commissions could approve a fight with such an obvious imbalance, warning that it undermines boxing's credibility and endangers the smaller fighter. To him, this is a dangerous example of entertainment being prioritized over ethics.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fighting, dude.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds. I said 190. The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali acting up. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's completely unfair. It is completely just, it's, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening. And the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
Why, dude?
Just the fact that, like, every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to, like, P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. Like, I thought it was 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195, and he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad.
Gervonta Davis reflects on his own journey and admits that becoming a champion was never his original dream. His goal was to earn enough money to escape hardship and change his life circumstances. Boxing, for him, was a path to stability, not necessarily about legacy or titles. He explains that his focus has always been financial security rather than chasing the status of an all-time great, which helps explain some of the choices he's made in his career today.
And why he's fighting YouTube sensation turned professional boxer Jake Paul, who is 12 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 7 wins by way of knockout, opposed to fighting against the likes of his peers who are well accomplished and superstars in their own right for legacy fights like Shakur Stevenson, like Teofimo Lopez, like Devin Haney. Why he's not interested in those fights. And he gets real, right? He gets real, and only thing we could do is salute it, right? Because he's saying, I never told y'all I wanted to be a world champion. I never told y'all I wanted to be undisputed. I got into this for myself and my circumstances to escape from my circumstances. And that's real. We can't blame him for that. We hold him in high regard because the statements he's made and misled people when he said he got a hit list that he wants to check off before he retires, and that hit list includes Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, who turned down the fight because of a severe back injury. And then he told the world, he told Champside, it would be great for him to become undisputed. So I think that he had a change of heart at some point in time along the way, right?
Showbiz the Adult offers a more balanced take. He praises Jake Paul for using his platform to bring new fans to boxing, crediting him for generating massive attention and media engagement. Jake's promotional instincts, he says, are unmatched. He knows how to create buzz and draw crowds. But Showbiz also highlights the flip side. Jake constantly faces criticism for cherry-picking opponents who are smaller, older, or past their prime. This pattern, he argues, is what frustrates purists who believe in traditional competition.
Boxing is going to sing his praises like a hero. Though Jake Paul is definitely appreciated by the boxing world when it comes to what he is giving to the sport, especially women's boxing, okay? I mean, it goes without saying that Jake Paul, an MVP, has added to the sport of boxing. But Jake Paul, the fighter, people are over his shit. There's a huge amount of boxing pugilists in the boxing community who's over his shit. And if Gervonta Tank Davis stops that, if he is the one who stops this whole train, knocking out Jake Paul, he will become a boxing hero. People will then say, now get the hell out of the sport. And I'm talking about from a fighter's perspective. That's what they're going to say. Now, it's not going to go on either one of their official records because it's an exhibition.
This frustration, Showbiz says, has sparked a wider debate about whether Jake Paul is truly helping or hurting boxing's image. If Gervonta Davis manages to defeat Jake Paul convincingly, it could shift the entire conversation, perhaps ending the wave of mismatched novelty fights once and for all. In that scenario, Tank wouldn't just earn a massive win, he'd also be celebrated as a hero who helped restore integrity to the sport.
Optically, visually, seeing that go viral, and I mean go viral, and Jake Paul will never hear the end of it.
Help you up. We're gonna see about it. Help you up. We're gonna see.
Because Gervonta Tank Davis is not only a real boxer, he's a real boy. He's 5'5". He's a lightweight. Skills pay the bills. Let him knock out Jake Paul, give him bandy legs, or knock him down. Gervonta Tank Davis, that moment will go viral, and he will be a far bigger, well-known boxer than he is today, and he will also be a hero. And that's the Black Dude Show. That you guys don't want to admit it. Don't bull jive. Think about it.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates. Until next time.